Hey everybody, it's PartyElite, and today we're going to take a look at some fantastic games that are right around the corner. Taking a look at the next 6 months of gaming, as well as some titles still labeled coming soon, though we hope that means early 2019, I'll be focusing on strategy games. After all, that is the primary focus of this channel, and if you're not already a subscriber, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the notification bell if you enjoy this video and you'd like to get notifications for future uploads. And if you have anything you're particularly excited about, let me know in the comments down below. Without further ado, let's begin. Warhammer 40k Space Hulk Tactics kicks off our list and continues the long tradition of extremely long titles for Warhammer games, and it's the first of a few Warhammer games in this list. Right around the corner with a release date of October 9th on PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC, the game is based off the Warhammer 40k universe, specifically the Space Hulk board game. Set in the grim, dark future, this sci-fi game sees you either leading the Terminator Space Marines of the Blood Angels chapter or the hive mind Tyrannid Genestealers in two distinct narrative-driven campaigns. The turn-based tactical game has the added layer of a card system to add a new twist, bringing some more customization and variety to the missions. The game has an astounding degree of customization actually, which is a welcome element in any Warhammer game, and the visuals themselves are absolutely stunning. The Warhammer license often gets shafted when it comes to the quality of games, but this looks to be a rather compelling case for a 40k game done right. The action looks fantastic, the animations feel very dynamic, and even the environment, lighting, and technical elements seem on point here. And once you're done with the two single-player campaigns, you can dive into the multiplayer action leading either the Genestealers or one of 4 Space Marine chapters: Dark Angels, Ultramarines, Blood Angels, or Space Wolves. And if that wasn't enough to get you excited to serve the Emperor, then consider the fact that there is a built-in map creation tool that lets you design maps and custom objectives. I'm extremely excited for this one, and I can't wait to get my hands on it.
From the moment I understood the weakness of my flesh, it disgusted me.
Warhammer 40k Mechanicus is coming on the 15th of November, and it's looking absolutely glorious as well. I had the pleasure of conducting a fairly long interview with a developer earlier this year, and I got to see a great deal of gameplay. The biggest selling point for me is the sheer enthusiasm I'm hearing. Like I said before, Warhammer games often get the shaft, hollow licensing deals layered on top of a generic game, but here we see game design and development driven by passion for the setting. The Adeptus Mechanicus, the protagonist in this game, are a woefully underrepresented faction in the 40k universe. They're a cult of technologically inclined in an otherwise technologically misguided future. Foregoing flesh for machine makes for a great deal of customization, and unique approaches are being taken to systems we've seen in this subgenre before. The Necrons, whose tombs you're raiding, act as the antagonist to your campaign, and they were once a glorious empire until their greed drove them to sacrifice mortality for metal, now awakening from a 60 million year slumber because of your tinkering. The conflict between the Mechanicus and Necrons proves to be quite an interesting one. Multiple endings, great attention to customization, writing from a Warhammer 40k veteran author, and an absolutely fantastic aesthetic to boot. Warhammer 40k Mechanicus looks like it will be a great ride. Fans of the universe will have the pleasure of leading some very interesting and unique units against some iconic Necron foes, and whether you're a fan of the Warhammer world or not, the art is almost undeniably cool and stylized. I can't wait to get my hands on this one, and if you want to know more, check out the videos I've linked under the eye at the top right corner of the screen.
Trespasser, you have 5 seconds to leave the premises. 5, 4, 3.
Mutant Year Zero Road to Eden arrives on the 4th of December on PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC, and it brings with it the end of humanity in a world reclaimed by nature and mutants. A tactical turn-based strategy game mixed with real-time stealth and exploration elements, all tied together with a fantastic sense of humor. The combat is very heavily XCOM inspired and supposedly quite punishing, all things that I like to hear. The exploration and stealth elements are a nice change of pace, and by going real-time with these portions, I feel like the game will be very nicely paced, swapping between real-time and turn-based on a dime. The game will often pit you against far more numerous enemies, and by using stealth to your advantage, you can thin the enemy out before you find yourself overwhelmed. That is, of course, if you play well. If not, it seems things hit the fan pretty fast. You start the game with two characters, a boar and a duck, aptly named Boorman and Ducks, and you recruit more characters that you can swap in and out further along the game. All of these characters are mutants, and as such, they have access to various mutations, and these are translated into skill trees, and as you can imagine, different mutations have different benefits, uses, and caveats. Alongside skill tree mutations, you'll be picking up loot, scrap, and equipment as you adventure, and while there's a hub area known as the Ark, it's not like XCOM or other games in the subgenre where you have to manage every element of your headquarters. Instead, you're just using the Ark to customize loadouts and equipment, things like that. Now, the levels themselves range in size, often surprisingly large, and they offer a fair bit of variety in approaches. They're also all handcrafted, allowing the game designers to create a fulfilling experience each time, while also ensuring everything looks and feels right. The whole stealth exploration aspect, blended with tactical turn-based combat, has me very excited, and I'm always down for a challenging game.
An icon will fall. The galaxy will burn.
Battlefleet Gothic Armada 2 is the very exciting upcoming real-time strategy game set in the Warhammer 40k universe. Like I said, a lot of Warhammer games in this list. Originally, this game was slated for a September 2018 release, but the game has since been pushed to a January 2019 release date. Focusing on the grand space battles of the universe, the game will launch with all 12 factions from the board game that this digital rendition is based on. That's the Imperial Navy, Space Marines, Adeptus Mechanicus, Necrons, Chaos, Eldari Corsairs, Eldari Craftworld, Drukhari, the Tau Merchant and Protector fleets, Orcs, and the Tyranids. Of these factions, the Tyranids, the Necrons, and the Imperium will get full narrative-driven campaigns. The setting, as far as timing and place is concerned, is also very interesting as far as the universe is concerned. We'll be exploring the Eye of Terror, which is a very interesting space in this universe, and we're actually seeing a game set in the latest edition of the Warhammer 40k world. I believe this is the first game to do that, and we're going to be seeing the story move forward into a grimmer, darker future. Exciting times. The representation of naval combat is great in the first game. I've always loved the level of maneuvering and finesse that's needed to set up ideal firing arcs, and the first game did a great job of setting up some automated systems while leaving a lot of other things for good micromanagement. I think it's cool at sea, I think it's cool in Star Wars, and I think it's cool here. Now, the first game had some issues, particularly with pacing, variety, and scale, but the sequel seems to be solving all of those problems and looking gorgeous while doing so. I'm very excited for this one as well, and I've been waiting for it for years.
In the futile pursuit of betterment, or prosperity, or survival. And yet, no matter how fleeting their existence, I welcome all to a place in my carefully curated collection.
China is divided. It is a rich and fertile land, where harmony once ruled, and may yet again. But now, the once proud capital of Luoyang lies in ruins, and all along the Great Yellow River, a terrible conflict rages.
Total War Three Kingdoms was originally slated for fall of 2018, but is now set for a spring 2019 release on PC. As a fan of the Total War games since the first, there was no way this list could exist without the latest addition to the series. Set in China during the Three Kingdoms period in the 2nd century, we're going to see two approaches available within the single purchase: a grounded, historical, classic Records of the Three Kingdoms mode, and a more fantastical Romance of the Three Kingdoms version. If you've ever played the Dynasty Warriors games, you'll be at least somewhat familiar with the setting. Bringing it to the Total War formula of turn-based campaign play and real-time battles is going to be fantastic. So far, we've only seen the Romance mode with all of its over-the-top glory, and we've only seen battles. No campaign gameplay or Records mode has been shown yet, and while I've enjoyed what we've seen and what I've played as well myself, I really want to see the big new changes that are being brought to this game. You can see a lot of early coverage of the game on this channel already, an interview, some gameplay, and an impressions video. I'll have it all under the eye at the top right corner of the screen. Now, long-term fans of the series, myself included, are understandably cautious about some missing elements, such as naval battles, and while I'm being cautiously optimistic myself, it's still a game I'm keeping my eye on very eagerly. Release is a while away, and I hope to cover the game every step of the way there, especially when we get our first look at the turn-based campaign gameplay and the more grounded version of the game as well.
Hey, darling.
Desperados III. Now, here's a name I didn't expect to see come back, and yet summer of 2019 sees us go back to the franchise for the 4th time after Wanted Dead or Alive, Cooper's Revenge, and Hell Dorado. Set during the 1870s in the Wild West, we'll be leading a crew of up to 5, each with their own specialities, against seemingly insurmountable odds in this real-time tactics-based game. We've seen some gameplay from Gamescom showing a scenario where a crew of 2, including returning protagonist John Cooper, have to work together with their heavy versus quick pairing to deal with, as I mentioned earlier, seemingly insurmountable odds. The new devs previously made Shadow Tactics Blades of the Shogun, a game which itself seems inspired by the older Desperados games and Commandos Behind Enemy Lines. That's a great sign of things to come. There are references being made by the developers to Hitman when discussing the flow of gameplay, and the Steam page lists a variety of approaches as a metaphorical back-of-the-box feature. That's also fantastic to see. It's exactly what I want to see in a game like this. We know very little as of now, but just seeing the Desperados name pop back up has me very excited for this blend of tactics, stealth, and action, because I'm a gaming masochist and I need more stress in my life.
Let's make it quick. No need to get bloody.
Prepare for planetfall.
Age of Wonders Planetfall, coming out sometime in 2019, is a new sci-fi addition to the Age of Wonders series. Despite hearing some great things, I've never had the chance to play the previous games in the series, so I'm really looking forward to joining in on the fun with this new one. We've seen a fair bit of extremely early gameplay during a live stream, and there are a lot of aspects that have me excited. Not only are there role-playing elements embedded directly into the game, but we're seeing a gorgeous 4X sci-fi game with all the complexities of a good 4X game, where you can customize units and then use them in tactical battles that are almost XCOM-like. The use of cover, options such as Overwatch, various equipment and abilities, flanking, action points. It's really cool to see these systems come together. Now, we've seen some really interesting stuff already. The game looks very characterful and colorful, which is always a pleasure, and it looks like there's a great deal of complexity to be uncovered here as well. I can't wait to uncover it. Imperator Rome, listed simply as coming soon, though we've been told it's supposed to be coming early 2019 on Windows, Mac, and Linux, is looking like a very fantastic addition to an already phenomenal portfolio of strategy games from the Paradox development team. It's a sequel to the 2008 game Europa Universalis Rome, and the game itself is set to start in 304 BC, and it covers territories from the Iberian Peninsula to the British Isles all the way to the Indian subcontinent. Not only is this when Rome really finds itself starting to grow, but we're also seeing the successor kingdoms and the rise of the Maurya Empire in India. Literally every part of the map has some very important or interesting historical thing going on, with interactions, friendly or otherwise, taking place across the board. And that means that every corner of the game should be a lot of fun to play for literally thousands of hours. Let's be honest, if we play Paradox development strategy games, we end up racking thousands of hours on all of them. Now, we've seen plenty of developer diaries released weekly, and we've been given some insights into the complexities of trade, characters, unit variety, unit abilities, laws and offices, politics. We've even seen just how detailed the map is, and we've learned little things like how roads are built by armies and how it tires them out, things like that. The weekly dev diaries are great bite-sized teasers, and discussing everything we know is way out of the scope of this video. With that said, it seems some are a little disappointed in how some mechanics might be getting streamlined, but I'll hold my judgment for now. I'm definitely looking forward to getting my hands on this game. I love games that cover larger geographical areas, and I'm definitely going to try to, cover it on my channel as much as possible, especially when it releases and hopefully before. Now, I will also mention right away, it's a Paradox development game, so we know there's going to be hundreds of dollars of DLC, but when DLC completely changes mechanics, introduces new frameworks, and fleshes out the game for years to come, I'm on board. Phantom Brigade, another one marked as coming soon, is one that nearly slipped right under my radar, so I want to make sure to spread the word because of how cool it looks. I came across this game a few days ago and was instantly enamored. Another turn-based tactical game featuring mech-on-mech violence. I think fans of games like Battletech and Front Mission will be very interested, and that includes me. I especially think so because the devs seem to be inspired by and taking lessons from both of these franchises. I actually had an impromptu chat with one of the developers, and they're doing some really cool things with how combat plays out. Just looking at this extremely early footage has got me pretty compelled. Despite being a turn-based game, we're seeing some great flow and pacing with very little dead air, a constant issue with some turn-based strategy games. Mechs move quickly, there's radio chatter and banter, the UI is highly animated and polished looking. I'm loving the art style as well, and the character it brings to the world and the mechs. Even the camera pans are characterful. On top of that, we're seeing tactical environmental destruction, dropping buildings on top of mechs to destroy them, for example, or destroying buildings to reduce cover to rubble. Now, I don't want to spend too much time here because the game is so early in development and a lot of things are literally changing as we speak, but what I've seen so far is really making me happy.
Oh, there we go. Oh no, and I destroyed my own mech. That was a bit of overkill.
Now really, that's not all that I'm excited for, but with so many fuzzy release dates as it is, I had to stop going in depth somewhere. There's Iron Harvest, set in the diesel punk alternate history universe of 1920s plus, where man and mech war together in the Eastern European countryside in a Company of Heroes style squad-based RTS, putting tactical capabilities to the test rather than focusing on actions per minute. I've already covered the game a little bit on this channel, and again, I'll try and link to it under the eye at the top right corner of the screen. There's also Anno 1800, the next game in a line of excellent city builder and economy simulators set, fittingly, during the 1800s, going back to the series' historical roots. There's Age of Empires 4 that we haven't even got a follow-up trailer to after it was revealed over a year ago. And there's Phoenix Point that already has had some coverage on this channel and will continue to get more as I've backed the game and backer builds release often. We've seen some great tactical gameplay in this XCOM style game, and the strategic layer will be releasing to backers in November as it sits now. Now, another punishing game that values tactics, positioning, individual body parts, and even availability of gear and vehicles on the field. Then there is Steel Division 2, an addition to a great series of games heading to the eastern front of World War II, bringing very large-scale battles, a great deal of tactical depth, and a campaign layer that sounds very similar to previous entries in the Wargame series, and all of this while looking absolutely fantastic. Again, there's plenty of games coming out. I had to cut it off somewhere, but I hope this list has introduced you folks to some new titles that you may not have heard of or been excited for before. I'll include Humble Bundle affiliate links to all of these games in the description down below, wherever possible of course, and feel free to use those to purchase the game if you want to support the channel and charity while you get the game. Now, with so many indie and AAA games out there, I'm sure to have missed some great choices, so please feel free to let me know what games you're looking forward to in the comments down below. As always, I'd like to thank all of my patrons for supporting the channel on a month-to-month basis, and a big thanks to all of you for watching. Make sure you subscribe for more strategy gaming content, and until next time, cheers.